As you all know, Outcome Memories V0.2 released a few days ago, and with that, it brought 2 new EXEs, including the original, for free EXEs inside of the game. Now, you might be wondering, which one's the strongest, or which one should I get first? Well, in this video, we're going to be ranking all free EXEs currently inside of the game, from worst to best. But anyways, before we begin, I want to say make sure to like and subscribe so you can get more content like that, helps me out a lot. But anyways, let's start off with third place. Coming in third place, in my opinion, has to be 2011X. As you all know, 2011X is the starting EXE that you get before you start the game. Now, overall, since his newest buff, he isn't really that bad of an EXE. Remember, he does a 45 damage per hit, 54 if enraged. He has a grab ability, which basically holds people still and deals around 2 damage a second, or around 3 to 4 against Metal Sonic. He has an invisibility to dodge stuff and find people, and he has God's Trickery, which also does damage. I'm pretty sure he also got a speed buff where if you get hit, you become a lot faster. Because inside of Eclipse, I feel like I'm zooming on the survivors. But because of all of this, I still think that the newer EXEs are a lot more better for him, but he is not at all bad. Because of his newest damage buff, it's way easier to actually get rid of survivors now. For a fact, within 2 hits, you're able to actually get rid of Kareem's thing, doesn't matter how much she really heals. And for the other characters, the extra little bit of damage helps with damage nullification. Even though it might not sound like a lot, instead of doing 41 damage to Metal Sonic, you're doing 43, which because of how much HP he takes for each dash, is actually pretty good because it might be able to get rid of him in 1 less hit. And of course, not to mention the fact that when you go into Outrage, it's still an additional minute and 36 seconds to the match. So although your attacks and design might not be as best as the newer EXEs, he still has so much time on his hands to do so much damage that he honestly works out really well. Also, with the newer maps, because of how tall they are, for example, the mines or Green Hills, he's actually able to drop a lot of gaps that many other EXEs couldn't. So for that fact, he's actually able to catch up to many people a lot easier. And of course, comes with the fact that since these maps are pretty massive, you're just able to teleport to whoever you want as long as you're nearby. This means, although he isn't the best as of now, he shouldn't be slept on because of his new buffs. He is honestly a very difficult threat to deal with. And not to mention, if you're playing as someone silver and trying to fly away, he actually does have a high enough jump where he can grab you inside of the air, or straight up just fly after you. But coming on to some downsides of him and why he's also coming in third, is for the fact that his hitboxes are a little janky in my opinion. You could be right on survivors half the time and not hit them, or you could be across the map from them and hitting them. It's also including the fact that because of the new survivors, the hitboxes do act a little bit differently, so although you might have turned invisible, there's a chance that you might actually get hit beforehand. This is why you have to be a little careful of how you use them, because there's a high chance that you get sneak attacked out of nowhere and get stunned for a whole bunch of time. And since he doesn't have the unstoppable perk like Kolossos, he gets flung away if he gets hit by somebody, for example, like Sonic. But of course, you don't really want to stun this guy that much until he gets his rage mode, because believe me, his rage mode is a death sentence. But for all those reasons, 2011X is generally the worst EXE out of the 3 currently inside of the game, but is by far not a bad EXE in general. But anyways, we're going to go on to the second place EXE. Now, when it's coming to second place, you can really choose whoever you want for it, but in my personal opinion, I think it's actually Tripwire who comes in second. Now, how Tripwire works is she does have kind of lower damage, don't know the exact amount, but it's around 37. So it's not as high as the other ones, and for example, when you're fighting someone like Sonic, it does actually take a lot of hits to get rid of his shield, but you'll know why. Her moveset comes with 3 pretty busted abilities. Her first one, which is Red Gem, don't remember the name, how it works is you shoot a laser beam, and every second that it hits a survivor, does around 15 damage per second. Her next ability is known as Trip, and basically it spawns a little trip mine, and you can have up to 10 of them on the map at once. And her next ability is known as Entanglement, where you grab 4 survivors from outside and basically start pulling them in. If they don't actually walk away from you and just let you go into you, instead of taking only around 25 damage, it does like 75 damage if you're not careful. Now, because of these movesets, she also has a few passives that help her out a lot. Since she doesn't actually have an indicator like 2011X and Kolossos, instead, when she's around, I want to say maybe 100 studs of somebody, you can actually see them getting highlighted, and you can hear it from the audio cue. When you hear this, you're able to look around and try to find if there's any survivors nearby. And her second passive is the fact that she has a double jump and can glide afterwards. And when I mean glide, you can fly as long as you're holding down the button. Now, when it comes in terms of why she's in second place, it's the fact that I play on controller, and sometimes her controls are a bit finicky. Of course, this is going to be patched out soon, but as of right now, and I've waited about a week to do this video, she still is a little bit buggy. For starters, with her laser beam, it is pretty hard to hit survivors sometimes because of her hitboxes. You can be aiming right at a survivor, and as long as you make sure you always are just on them, there's sometimes a chance where it just doesn't hit, or you do like 45 damage to them. Then for the entanglement, it does actually work really well as kind of like a block, because as long as there's a survivor nearby, you can actually pull them in. When I'm playing with someone like Sonic against Tripwire, there's a high chance that she grabs me as I'm trying to spin dash towards her, and when this happens, because I'm going towards her, I get sucked right into the middle and deal almost 50 damage to myself. And something I found a little bit weird for trip mines is depending on where you are, you kind of have to look downwards to actually place it down. But with those slight tweaks out of the way, her abilities are still really strong. For example, as you know, the trip mines, you can place them down every 2 seconds, and you can have 10 on the map at once. Now with this, you can place all 10 of them practically right beside each other, and as you all know, it does have suction effects. So this means even though they only do around 30 damage, 30 to 35, you can get hit multiple times by different mines since it does ragdoll you after you use them. And the mines also kind of work like an indicator, because once you know they exploded, you know that there is a survivor there. Then for her slashes, it's kind of interesting because she does her base damage, and then for like a second or two afterwards, she does a little bit more. This could just be a visual of how the damage goes down, but she doesn't seem to do that much, but she also does do a lot at the same time. Then when it comes to her flight, turns out she is like the fastest EXE inside of the game. Even when you're playing against a Sonic who is naturally faster or a Silver, your glide speed is around 2 times faster than your normal run speed, which is already faster than a Survivor. And if it's a map, for example, like You Can't Run, gliding from the top of the map, you can catch up to anybody in seconds. There's around a 3-second cooldown for this, but as soon as you use it, you can just fly after them. And because of this reason, Tripwire is a little hard to play at first if you don't know what you're doing, but the fact that she has such strong abilities and you can place down many traps, she is considered to be a trapper EXE. And of course, because of her high damage, it's also recommended that you go after one survivor at once, because when you do so, I'm able to pick off the Metal Sonic pretty fast when using her as long as they're alone. But then again, the one downside that does come with her is the fact that you don't have a full map indicator. This means, for example, on a map like Mystic Cave, depending on how far away survivors is, it is really difficult trying to find people. Even though you can trap certain areas or trap the exit and destroy the survivors, since you don't actually know where they are a lot of the time, it is pretty complicated. But of course, her smaller hitbox does make up for that, and I'll say this, that she does come in second place, but believe me, if you ever have a Tails using the Tails doll skin, please change it. You do not know the amount of times I've mistaken the two for each other, because they both have the same model practically. But with that, Tails doll is coming in second place. But now we're moving on to first place. Coming in first place is probably a shocker to absolutely nobody, but it's Kolossos. Let's go over some basics right now. 1, he does 50 damage per hit. 2, he's somehow the slowest and fastest EXE inside of the game. And 3, he's an absolute powerhouse of his EXE. But going back to the 50 damage. With his 50 damage, you're able to 2-shot almost every survivor inside of the game. The only 3 exceptions, well 2-ish, is Sonic because of his overshield, Silver having 105 directly trying to counter this guy, and we have Metal Sonic, which takes 7 hits, which sounds like a lot, but if you're charging or you're about to charge at the EXE, it still takes around 50 damage. Then his first move, Grab, which has such a huge lunge, you can grab survivors from so far away, punch them 3 times for around 50 damage, and then hit them right after because they ragdoll. Now let's not forget about the charge. With the charge, you basically run into survivors dealing 25 damage. If you can get countered during this or stunned during this, but it's pretty uncommon. And then if you run into a wall while with them impaled, it does an additional 25 damage. Then if you hit them, it does reduce damage, so instead of 50, you do 15 damage. So somehow when I'm playing Blaze, I go from 100 HP to 35 within 2 seconds. And of course, as you know, he does 50 damage, so you're in one-shot territory after one ability. And with that running ability, his charge, it has such high speed that most of the time you're able to catch up to Sonic while he's using peel out, or in better fact, grab the survivors that he's carrying off of him entirely. Then for his final ability, the cherry on top, with his block, you're able to block anything inside of the game and basically stuns the survivors instead. But if you use your block against someone like a Tails or an Amy throwing their hammer, you actually throw like a rock right back at the survivor. Anyone around them or nearby takes around, I want to say 10 damage and completely ragdolls them. Then, including on top of all of this, he has 2 passives. His first passive is basically unstoppable. He can't really be knocked back. So this means that with the throw that Silver has, or the knockback on the third of Sonic's attack, it doesn't really do much to him. He kind of just stands still. Then his second passive is wall climbing. On controller or on keyboard, if you double space or double jump into a wall, you start climbing up the wall like you're like the Pink Panther. And because of this, you're able to catch up to survivors super quickly, especially if it's a Tails trying to snipe you, and deal a lot of damage. For all of these reasons, he is definitely inside first place. Me personally, I can't win with him because I am very buns with him, but the fact that people are able to win within like 2 minutes is insane. Including the fact that during Last Man Standing, it's really difficult to survive him, especially if you're playing someone like Sonic. Because as you know, Sonic takes more damage during Last Man Standing and can practically be 2 shot. I mean, I don't know, but that might be a little strong. Including, this is not to mention, during the escape sequence, there's a high chance that a lot of the team might be damaged a little, but the fact that you can use your charge to bring people away from the portal, then deal with them farther away, or block them entirely is wild to me. Kolossos is probably one of the most fundamentally broken characters inside of the game, and he is pretty fun to use in my opinion. But one thing I should say that you should always look out while you're playing him is that if you do have some lag, it is difficult, or if you're playing on something like the PS5 or PS4, you can't actually climb walls because basically the controls aren't really working. And when you're using your grab ability, make sure you aim kind of ahead of them, because if you aim just for them, sometimes there's a chance that you just miss them entirely. But with that was ranking the 3 EXEs that are inside of Outcome Memories, being 2011X, Tails Doll, and Kolossos. Now, my opinions might be different than yours, so comment down below who you think the strongest EXE is. I honestly base my opinion off of the matches I played with them and against them. So if you have any comments or anything like that, let me know down below. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you all liked and enjoyed. And if I don't see you in game, then I'll catch you next video. Later.